Hey everyone, Franco with Wisdify here, and in today's video, we're diving into the top 5 Excel formulas every accountant must know to save time, eliminate errors, and take your number crunching game to the next level. Whether you're managing budgets, analyzing financial data, or preparing reports, these formulas will revolutionize the way that you work. So grab your coffee, fire up Excel, and let's turn those spreadsheets into your ultimate productivity tool. So first up on our list is our arithmetic functions. Our arithmetic functions cover sum, average, min, and max. And to illustrate that, I have a data set for you here today. I actually have multiple data sets that we'll use together to show you all of the formulas we'll be talking about in this video. First is the sales for the day, and we have an employee list, a set of inventory listing as well. So we have the item and the price, and we have that same inventory listing, but the columns are split, right? Now price is first instead of the item. So what are we going to do here? So you might be familiar with how to use basic arithmetic functions in Excel, right? We can add, we can subtract, we can divide and multiply. Just like if we need to get our total sales, all we need to do is to multiply our quantity by our unit price and so on and so forth. But you might not be using other arithmetic functions, specifically these four, right? So to use sum, we simply have to type in sum, press tab, and specify the ranges that we want to add together. Okay, so this can save you a lot of time instead of using the plus button. If I wanted to get the sum, using that, I would have to press equals and then press this plus this plus this plus this plus this, right? You can't do a range here. It's not going to work. See, you're going to get a spill error. And to resolve that, it's better to use sum. But did you know that you could use sum even faster? So instead of having to type down the formula, we can actually just press Alt and then equals. So if we press this, Alt equals, sum already does this for us. All right. Isn't that cool? So that's it for sum. It's a really, really fast way to get the sum of a range of cells. Okay. Average is really simple. It works just like sum, but instead of getting the total, we're actually getting the average. So again, we just have to specify the range that we want to get the average of. And there you have it. We can even drag this over here. Okay. So for min, this actually extracts the smallest amount in your data set. Just like sum and average, you just have to type in the formula, specify your range, and there you have it. For max, you do the same thing. It extracts the largest amount in a data set. And these are, again, things that you can drag over. So that was really simple, right? If you know the set of functions, now you can do basic computations and basic analysis on your data sets. The next function is actually a lot more exciting, and this is your basic lookup functions. For your basic lookup functions, you have your VLOOKUP and your HLOOKUP. In this video, I'm going to teach you specifically about VLOOKUP. What do your lookup functions do? Let's say, for example, that unit price is missing. Let's say that it wasn't in this table to begin with, and now we can't even compute for total sales. Now, to fill out unit price, if we don't know it in this table, we're definitely going to have to reference another table, and we can see that our inventory prices are in this sheet. So we actually have the item and the corresponding price. Now, if you want to link two sets of data together, you can use the lookup function. Now, the question is, when do you use VLOOKUP and when do you use HLOOKUP? V stands for vertical and H stands for horizontal. If you're searching for a value within a column, you're going to use VLOOKUP. But if you're searching for a value within a row, In this way, you're going to use HLOOKUP. In this video, we're going to use VLOOKUP so that we can actually look up our product from the sales for the day table in our inventory prices table. And it's going to allow us to extract the price for the specific items that we're looking at. And for this to work, we have to specify which column we want to return. We want to return the second column, of course. And we are being asked to choose if we want an approximate match or an exact match. We'll go with an exact match this time. And there you have it. You can just drag that formula and automatically our unit prices are filled out. That's it for our lookup functions. Sometimes these basic VLOOKUP functions aren't enough, and you need to know about advanced lookup functions. And what are these advanced lookup functions about? So we have two of them. Again, we're going to discuss XLOOKUP and index match. So XLOOKUP is really simple actually, but this is only available in Excel versions 2021 and up. If you don't have that, you're going to be stuck with index match. And where do we use these formulas? Let's say that we don't have unit price again, and we only have this data set, right? It's still the inventory listing, but now the price is the first column and the item is the second column. Now, how are you going to look up the values from this table? If you try to use VLOOKUP, you're going to fail because VLOOKUP can't go backwards, right? If you have the value that you're looking up in column C, VLOOKUP can recall data from column B and A. It can only recall columns that are from column C onwards. Now, to fix that problem, you're going to want to use XLOOKUP. So how do we use XLOOKUP? We just type in XLOOKUP, and just like VLOOKUP, we specify the value that we're looking for, where we can find that value. So it doesn't have to be a whole table. We can just specify this column, and then it's going to ask us which column to return. And now we can specify column B, right? Now we press enter and we get the same results as VLOOKUP. Some might even say that XLOOKUP is a lot easier to use. That's really great. XLOOKUP is a game changer, but what if you have Microsoft Excel 2019 and below? You don't have this. So what you have to use is what we call index match. Index match is a nested formula. It is actually two formulas in one. It's index and match. Index actually recalls data from a certain row within an array. What happens here is if I want to look up a certain value, I'll get this array and I want to get the fourth row, right? Index is going to give me the fourth row of the range that I highlighted. Is this correct? So let's find out 1, 2, 3, 4. So it gave me the value in my fourth row. Now this alone can be pretty useless. And that's where match comes in to make this one of the most dynamic lookup formulas humankind has ever seen. What's going to happen here? If we look at match on its own, it kind of looks like VLOOKUP, right? We look up a value. So let's use laptop over here. And let's go back to inventory prices. Let's say that we want to see which row laptop is in our inventory listing column. And if you look, we can see that it brought us back 1. Is that right? When we look for laptop, yes, it is the first item in our array. So you have a formula that specifies or that returns the value in a certain row within a certain range. And we have another formula that returns which row something is in. Now, can you see where we're going with this? Now we nest these two formulas together, or we use them in conjunction to form index match. So for index match, all we're going to do is we're going to use index first, and we want to return the value in this column. Now, which row are we going to get that from? This is where the nesting happens. We put match in here, and we want to look up where laptop is, right? We want to see which row laptop is in, and we want to find that in this column. We have another parameter, and it's going to ask us if we want less than, exact match, or greater than. It's better to use exact match. We're actually missing one last parenthesis to close this up. And now we have the same data that we needed, right? So again, two very powerful functions that allow you to perform complicated lookup operations. So that is just number 3. For number 4, we have the if function. So the if function actually helps us with conditions. What do I mean by that? In our employee list, we can see that we have 6 employees currently. We have Alice, Bob, Charlie, Diana, Eve, and another Alice. So if we go by their last names, we actually have Alice Wonder and we have Alice Lund. All right. So now how do we differentiate these two people? Alice Wonder is actually assigned to the North region, while Alice Lund is assigned to the West region. What's our problem here? When we go back to our sales for the day, we actually have only the first names of the sales reps, and we have 3 transactions with Alice on them, but we don't know which Alice this is. So how do you think we can figure out which Alice made the transaction? Just like in our employee list, we figured out that Alice Lund is assigned to the West region and Alice Wonder is assigned to the North region. Simply, what we do here is we check if the region Alice is in. We try to check the region Alice is in, and if she is in the West region, we'll place her last name as Lund. If she is from the North region, we'll place her last name as Wonder. Okay? So we can actually add a separate column here. We will call this her last name. And the thing here is, when we're dealing with Alice, we want to filter her out. So we only have Alice now. And what we're going to do here is we're going to type in if, and we're going to check if this is North, right? We want to see if the region is North, because if it is, this is Alice Wonder. If it's not, it's Alice Lund. Okay? So as you can see, we were able to isolate. We were able to identify with a formula which Alice made the transaction. That is the power of the if formula, and this is just the beginning. So that was a really simple problem. You can use if to do certain checks as well. You don't just have to use it to process certain data. You can use it for validation. Let's say, for example, that we want to make sure order IDs are only 3 digits long. So we can place a check formula here. And let's say that we have hundreds and thousands of rows of data. You might not catch something like 1104, an accidental slip of the finger, or someone just entering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe they were slacking off. They thought this was funny and they forgot to just leave this out. And just using your eyes, you will be able to catch this in a large data set. So one thing that you can do is to use the if function to do those checks for you. So I do if, and what I want to do is I want to check if the length of my order ID is equal to 3. If it is, then we're good. If not, then we have to label this as for checking. All right. So as you can see, now it even caught the blanks. We can isolate all of the items for checking, and then we can raise this with whoever is responsible for the file. Or if you made the file, at least you can catch this before you submit this to your boss. Isn't that cool? So that is it for our if functions. I hope you found that useful. For the last set of functions that we're going to be talking about, it's actually conditional functions. So it's not just if, That's the conditional function. You also have additional formulas that can do really cool things like SUMIF and COUNTIF. For this video, we're going to be focusing on SUMIF. Now, where do we use SUMIF? The best place to use this or to illustrate this is if we have, or if we want to look for how much we were able to sell for just certain products. So let's say that we want to see how much we were able to sell for the mouse, monitor, and the laptop product lines. And let's say we're not even interested with those other two figures. We just want to see what total sales is. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use SUMIF. And what SUMIF does is it actually asks us which range we want to qualify, right? We want to have certain checks for a range. And if that item in that range passes the check, that's the only time that we include it in our sum. All right. So how do we use SUMIFs here? Let's say I want to isolate the sales for certain products. What I'll do here is I'm going to use SUMIF, and I want to specify the range that has my products. I want to make sure that it isolates only the product I'm specifying to the left in column B. And it's going to take the sum of total sales for that product. Now, what's going to happen here is, there you go. Now I have the sales for just the mouse. I have the sales for just monitor. I have the sales just for the laptop. So what if I want to dig a little deeper? It's not enough for me to just segregate this by product, but I want to do this per region, per product. So let's say, for example, I want to compute for the product sales in the West region, and I want to do that per product. Instead of just having a SUMIF for one condition, I need two conditions now. So instead of using SUMIF, I use SUMIFS. And SUMIFS is really similar, but first it's going to ask us which range to get the sum of, and then it's going to ask us the criteria range, right? So before I do that, I want to make sure that this is locked in. So SUMIFS. And once I specify this range, be sure to press F4 so this doesn't move around. Now I want to make sure that the product is equal to the product I'm specifying to the left, and that the region is equal to, oh, sorry, let me leave this in as well. And I want to make sure that the region is equal to West. And I don't want that to move, so I left that in using F4. And now I have the total sales in my West region per product. And there you have it, the top 5 Excel formulas that every accountant should have in their toolkit. Mastering these can make the difference between hours of tedious work and lightning-fast efficiency. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your colleagues, and subscribe to Wisdify for more tips to supercharge your skills. Until next time, stay productive and have a great